So, when you think hacker, what comes to mind? Probably some person in a dark hoodie, right? Just pounding away at a keyboard with green code flying everywhere. But the reality, especially for the good guys, the ethical hackers who are trying to defend our systems, it's way less chaotic. It's actually a super methodical, disciplined process. Today, we're going to break down the professional playbook they use, a step-by-step guide designed to find security holes before the real attackers even get a chance.
And that quote really gets to the heart of it. This isn't about causing damage at all. It's about putting on the bad guy hat so you can see your own weaknesses first. It's this critical security audit that gives you a chance to patch things up before a real attacker comes knocking. And that whole process, it follows a very specific map. So let's lay it out.
Here's our roadmap. We're going to walk through the 4 key phases of a typical penetration test. We'll start super broad, gathering intel, and then narrow our focus with each step, just like a real-world attacker would. Let's get started.
All right, first up, the playbook itself. You gotta forget the myth of some random genius just figuring it all out on the fly. Real-world hacking is a professional discipline, and honestly, understanding the method is the key to defending against it.
Okay, so what is a penetration test? The most important word on this slide is simulated. A pen test, as it's called, isn't a real attack. It is an authorized, totally controlled attempt to find the cracks in the armor so they can be fixed before someone else finds them.
Now, these tests usually come in 2 main flavors. On one hand, you've got a white box test. This is where the hacker gets the full blueprints of the network. They get a total insider's view. The goal is to be incredibly thorough. On the other hand, you have a black box test, which is the complete opposite. The tester starts with basically nothing, maybe just the company's name. It's meant to perfectly simulate what a real external attacker would see. And this whole process from start to finish is guided by a really simple idea, the inverted triangle. Think of it like a funnel, but upside down. You start really wide at the top, grabbing every piece of public information you can possibly find. Then, with each step, you get narrower and narrower, drilling down from that broad intelligence to find a very specific, exploitable vulnerability.
Which brings us to our very first step, digital reconnaissance. This is all about passive intelligence gathering, and the key word here is passive. The tester never ever directly touches the target systems. It's all just observation from the outside. Why? Because the little bits of info gathered here, things like employee names, software versions, network info, they become the foundation for a much more effective attack later on.
So how do they actually do this? Well, they use publicly available tools and data. You've got Google hacking, which is basically just using fancy search terms to find things that probably shouldn't be on the internet, like a company's private login page. Tools like the Harvester automatically scrape the web for employee emails, which, you guessed it, often double as usernames. And a simple whois lookup on a domain name can spill all sorts of technical details. I love this analogy because it perfectly captures the mindset here. You're not setting off any alarms because you haven't actually touched anything yet. You're just building a map. You're piecing together a detailed picture of your target's digital footprint, all from a safe distance, getting ready for the next move. Okay, so we've gathered our intelligence. The quiet observation phase is officially over. Now it's time to make first contact. In phase 2, scanning, we're moving from just looking around to actively probing the target's network. We're going to start knocking on some digital doors. To do that, we first need to know what we're looking for. Just imagine a server is like a giant apartment building, but instead of apartments, it has over 65,000 numbered doors. We call these ports. And behind each door is a different service. A website might be behind door number 80, email behind door 25. The whole goal of scanning is to just methodically go and check every single one of those doors to see which ones are open. And when it comes to checking those doors, the undisputed king of the castle is a tool called Nmap. It is the digital master key. It can go check all 65,000 doors on a server and then come back with a report. Is a door open and accessible? Is it closed and locked? Or is it filtered, meaning it's probably hiding behind a firewall?
Now, a normal network connection is kind of like a polite phone call. There's a hello back, and then, okay, let's talk. But Nmap has this really clever trick up its sleeve called a stealth scan. It's the digital version of calling someone, waiting for them to say hello, and then hanging up immediately. The connection never actually finishes, which lets Nmap grab info about the port while trying to sneak past any basic security logs. Pretty sneaky.
So, let's recap. We've done our recon, we've scanned the perimeter, we've found the open doors. Well, now it's time for phase 3, gaining access. This is the moment where we stop knocking and we actually try to turn the handle.
But again, forget the movies. Testers aren't just furiously typing out brilliant code on the spot. They use frameworks, and the big one is Metasploit. The best way to think about it is like a massive, organized digital arsenal packed with ready-to-use exploits. A tester finds an open service with their Nmap scan, they search Metasploit for a matching weapon, and they launch it. It's a precise, targeted strike, not just chaos.
Now, another classic way in is by cracking passwords. Your computer doesn't store your password as plain text, it stores a scrambled version called a hash. A tool like John the Ripper doesn't even try to unscramble it. Nope. Instead, it takes a huge list of words, like a dictionary, hashes each one, and just checks to see if it matches the stolen hash. If it gets a match, boom, password cracked. It's a brute force matching game.
But here's a really crucial point a lot of people miss. Sometimes you don't even need to bother cracking the password. If an attacker has just a few minutes of physical access to a computer, they can use a special USB drive to boot it up, go directly into the system's password file, and just clear it, blank it out. The next time the computer starts up, they can log in as an administrator, no password required.
So, the hacker's in. They've found a way past the defenses. Is the job done? Oh, not even close. Welcome to the end game. This is what we call post-exploitation. This entire phase is all about what an attacker does after they get that first foothold and how they show what the real business risk is.
And that's really the million-dollar question, isn't it? Getting in is just the beginning. The real goal of a pen test is to find out just how far an attacker can go. What can they access? What kind of damage could they really do once they're inside the walls?
So once they're inside, a tool like Metasploit's MeterPredator gives the tester some incredible powers. They can dump even more password hashes, they can secretly take screenshots of the user's desktop, or even log every single keystroke. But the most critical move of all is something called the pivot. That's where they use the first machine they broke into as a launchpad to attack other systems deeper inside the network. This is how one vulnerable server can lead to the entire company being compromised. But after all that technical wizardry, after all the scanning and exploiting, we get to what is without a doubt the most important part of the entire process, the report. See, an ethical hacker's job isn't just to break in. It's to provide a detailed, actionable document that explains exactly how they did it, what the business impact is, and most importantly, concrete steps on how to fix it. This is where the real value is.
And that kind of leaves us with one final, sobering thought. This entire process we just walked through, it all follows a well-defined playbook. So if a professional who is bound by rules and working on a deadline can find these kinds of vulnerabilities, it really makes you wonder, what could a determined real-world adversary, with all the time in the world and absolutely no rules, find on your network?